and gentlemen, welcome to episode 169 of Petey's Awesome Guest Panel. Now, before we introduce tonight's special, iconic, and very legendary name, let's introduce tonight's all-star co-host panel. First off, Mr. Christopher Petey. Welcome,
Hey,
Chris.
yo, everybody.
Good to see you, Chris. Also joining us tonight, we have Mr. Dan Romano.
Hey, Pete, thanks for having me on. And Adrienne, this is such a pleasure to be with you. I've been a long-time fan, and this is such an honor. Thanks for having me on, Pete.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
It's gonna be a fun night, Dan. I can't wait. It's gonna be a fun night. And also joining us tonight too, another dear friend of mine who we go back for a decade and a half long. A gentleman who is the host of Cloverleaf Radio, Mr. Ian Boothby.
Hey guys, how's it going? Pete, Chris, Dan, Adrienne. How are you guys?
Always great to see you, Ian.
You too.
Now, introducing tonight's legendary name, I am stuttering because I am so excited to have this individual on. She's such a legendary name. She starred in many of my favorite projects like The Swamp Thing, The Cannonball Run, and Escape from New York, as well as TV shows like Maude. She is the personification of an actress who personifies acting prowess, charisma, beauty. She is one of a kind. She is a Jill of a kind, a Jill of all trades, if I might add. But enough of me babbling. Tonight's guest star is the legendary, the iconic Miss Adrienne Barbeau. Welcome, Adrienne. How are you today?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Petey.
Such an honor, pleasure. Again, I'm sorry, I'm just so giddy just to have you on. This is such a pleasure.
Well, thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Welcome. Now we have a couple of questions to ask you tonight, though. One of the questions I have for you, and this could be a typical cliche question, Adrienne, and that is, what inspired you to be an actress, and how and when did you get your first big break into acting? Take us there.
Okay, I don't know if there was ever any real inspiration. My mother started me taking ballet when I was very young. I hated it by the time I was 12. And then when I was in 5th grade, someone said to her, "Oh, Adrienne can sing." So she started me taking voice lessons. And in high school, I started doing, high school productions. And then I ended up working with the San Jose Civic Light Opera, which was a community theater in San Jose, California, but it was a very well-run and well-financed community theater. And the week after I graduated high school, I went to Southeast Asia under the auspices of the San Jose Civic Light Opera, doing a musical comedy review, entertaining the armed forces over there. We were in Japan, we were in Korea, we were right on the DMZ on the night of the anniversary of the signing of the treaty. We were in Taiwan and Okinawa and an atomic testing center called Johnston Island. And that was my first sort of professional job. I got paid $7 a day, and we were 3 months over there entertaining GIs. And when I came back, I started college, and I didn't know that people could earn a living as actors. I just thought I would get my degree and I'd teach acting because I sort of liked it. But someone said, you ought to go to New York and try your luck in New York. And so I thought, okay, I'll go to New York. And if nothing happens by the time I'm 25, I'll go back to college and I'll end up teaching acting. But by the time I was 25, I was on Broadway. And so that was the beginning. And then Broadway, I was the original Rizzo in Grease. And that for that, I was nominated for a Tony. And because of the nomination, Norman Lear came to New York and interviewed me. And I was eventually hired to play B. Arthur's daughter in Maude. So that brought me to LA. I'd never been in LA before, but that brought me to LA. And I've pretty much been here ever since.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up though, because we have a lot of mod questions to ask you though, especially Dan and Ian. They're huge mod fans as well as so am I though. And before we get to that though, I just want to ask you because you have done voice acting work too. And because one of my favorite works, and this is how I became a fan of yours, growing up, was Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I thought you were really, really flawless in that. It was perfect, like the way you portrayed Simone. And that one line that always sticks to me is when they said you won't get away with this, and the way you delivered the line, it was so chilling, it was so menacing. It was the way you said, "I've been getting away with it for 300 years," and that's when you transform into like the horrible, like the character villain of Zombie Island. And I just want to give you your flowers for that performance.
Oh, well, thank you very much because you just told me more about that movie than I ever could remember. I just remember I didn't audition for it or anything. They just called me and asked me to come in and do this role. They never told me that she was Cajun or from Louisiana or had a French accent or anything. And when I got there, it was like, oh my God, wait a minute, a French accent? Why, do I have a French accent? And
You were
at the
absolutely
time, there was a very famous French actress named Catherine Deneuve who had done a commercial for maybe it was Chanel. It was for some perfume here in the States, a television commercial, and she spoke. Sometimes it's not easy to be Catherine Deneuve. And I thought, okay, all right, that's how I'm going to do this.
just epic.
But Petey, I have no recollection, and very few people, only now uh, have I even traveled with the Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island poster or anything when I go to the conventions, because very few people in those days knew who voice actors were. It's become a whole milieu now and a very popular milieu. But you're one of the few people who knew it back then, I guess.
Oh, you were so cool in that. I was thinking to myself, this movie has both Tara Strong and Adrienne Barbeau. I mean, so much star power, incredible voice acting talent. I was like, well, how can you go wrong with? I mean, you have a movie with Billy West, Adrienne Barbeau, Tara Strong. I mean, Cam Clark. I mean, this is just gonna be a fucking epic all-star.
Well, and I have people come up to me and say, "Oh, that was my favorite Scooby-Doo movie
Yep.
in all time." And so I'm glad I was a part of it.
Bless your heart, Miss Barbeau. I'm sorry, Adrienne. Sorry, I'm already breaking.
You can call me whatever you want.
Um, well, you mentioned also too, your work in modern, working with B. Arthur, though. Of course, our gentlemen, Dan and Ian, have questions though. So, Dan, you're gonna ask your first question though. So, your first question for Adrienne.
Well, mine you kind of already answered because I wanted to know the backstory on that. So that was actually pretty cool hearing how you traveled from New York to LA and how you've been there ever since. And that was really interesting. But speaking of your voice acting, I saw recently one of your um, recent films. I saw Watchmen. It's actually one of my favorite films ever made. Your adaptation. It was really cool hearing you as Sally Jupiter. And I mean, I've seen that's the funny thing about you. Like I've grown up with your work, like from like at the time not even knowing it with Maud. With funny enough, a tradition in my home was always watching Back to School when we would start school with
Oh.
Rodney Dangerfield. So just like, how was it working with him, if I may ask?
Rodney was great. He was a delight. He was the first day I showed up on the set, there was a line of women standing outside his trailer. And I said to the producer, "What's going on? What's going on?" He said, "Oh, they're just standing in line hoping to get a kiss and a hug from Rodney. He's a big sex symbol." And I thought, oh, well, okay. But he was a delight. He was a sweetheart to work with and very funny. And well, you see it on the screen. He was a really good person.
You guys played off. Well, you guys were so funny together. Just the way you bounced off each other was great.
But Dan, you're the first person who's ever mentioned Watchmen, and I'm so glad you did because I wasn't even sure when I was doing it if it was a video game or a movie.
And Yeah, it was not sure if you saw there Zack Snyder did his version of it in 2009, which I think is pretty good, but I love yours equally as much as the um Zack Snyder's film because yours, the one you did, is more accurate to the comic book and everything.
Ah,
So yeah.
okay.
And
Okay. I'm gonna have to find it and watch it.
oh,
I've
yeah,
never seen it.
hopefully there's a
Okay.
you should. I think you'd like it. And then another thing, another favorite film of yours that I love is Argo, which is
Oh,
funny.
yes.
You're so
Yes.
brief in that, but it's like it was like I remember when I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, I know who that is, and it was like it's a big role, and that I think Ben won. Didn't he win an Oscar for this too?
The
I
movie
think
won an Oscar, and
yeah,
I don't know if he won the Oscar or the movie won the. I think the movie won the Oscar. He may have as well, and well deserved because he brought so much to that screenplay. I mean, I read the script and I loved it anyway. But then when I saw what he had added, it just it really enhanced it, and actually it also won the SAG award for best ensemble or best cast, I guess. So
yeah.
all of us sort of took part in that too. It's a
That's what
fascinating
you've been a part
story.
of so many big, iconic, huge things in history. Like this, again, I think it's a great film, and like the fact it actually was based on true events and
Yes.
it was declassified. It's just it makes it much more impactful. And you were part of something. Again, you're part of a lot of huge things, so that's just really, really cool. And I just again, I've been a fan of your work and you a long, long time. So
Oh,
it's,
thank
it's,
you. Well, I have some more stuff coming out, so hopefully we can talk again in 6 months and you will have seen some new stuff.
I love, if I may say, I watched Oddities recently too. That was really good. I watched it
Okay.
last night. Yeah.
Okay, that just gives me a great lead in because we just finished filming a feature. Same title, same director, same writer, Oddities. Uh, in one way, my character is the same in that she owns or runs a I'm sorry, my phone is ringing. She runs a also runs an antique store, only this one is a 5,000 square foot barn in Kentucky. And
Whoa.
she is also not what you think she is.
I'm
Oh,
looking forward to it. So, because then the one I saw was just a short film.
That was a
So they're
short,
making.
and it does not have anything to do with the feature, except that it gave rise to the feature, I guess I could say. It's sort of a Thelma and Louise meet A Quiet Place.
Okay.
oh,
I'm
that's
looking forward to
exciting.
seeing it then.
Two young women on the lam who are taken in by this woman that runs an antique store, but things are not as they seem. Let's just leave it at
Yeah,
that. And hopefully we'll be seeing it in the theaters next year.
I would love it because I think that's one thing too. People like it because everything's streaming nowadays, and I miss going to the theaters.
Yes.
Like everything nowadays is either a sequel or prequel or just like stuff we never asked for. When I watched Oddies, it was something new, it was something different and original. It's refreshing to see that. So
Yes, yes. And I think they did it. I mean, we shot it, we shot it during the pandemic. I showed up for rehearsal the first day, and the SAG rep was there testing us all for COVID. And we did our rehearsal and went home. And the next day she called and said, well, Adrienne has COVID. I had no symptoms, nothing. I was supposed to start work for them on Monday. This was Saturday. And fortunately, I healed very quickly, and they sort of gave us a dispensation. We switched the schedule around a little bit. It was only maybe an 8-day shoot, and I thought they did a fantastic job with it.
oh yeah, it was. I loved it.
And just as a little side note, for the feature of Oddities, unbeknownst to me, My son, Cody Carpenter, was hired to do the score.
Oh, no way.
Really?
So,
That's
yeah.
so cool.
So you're going to get two family members.
Sweet. Adrian, before we get on to Ian's question, though, we also have another co-host joining us tonight. He is a huge fan of yours too, and his name is Jacob. Welcome, Jacob.
Hey, sorry I'm late. It's been a day getting over being sick and then my computer acting sick, but I definitely did not want to miss this, and I'm really glad to be here.
Good to have you, man. And we're gonna get to your questions very soon, Jacob. Ian, you had a question for the legendary Adrienne.
Well, of course, I didn't want to say before I get to my question. I get no respect at all.
Rodney Dangerfield.
Adrienne, what was it like working with B. Arthur on Mod? That had to be some great memories.
I loved B. I loved B. She was, I took it all for granted because it was my first foray into television. I'd never done a television. I'd never done a series. So I took a lot of it for granted. And it wasn't until after the show went off the air and I started guesting on other sitcoms or other shows that I realized what a remarkable person she was in terms of the work. B was all that was important to B was the show be the best it could. There was no ego there. She was the first one who would say, when we'd have a table read of the following week's script, she was the first one who would say, I think this would be funnier if Conrad said it or Adie said it, or, and she was the first one up from the table to go and greet a guest artist, whether they had under 5 lines, whether it was a celebrity, a star, or whatever. She was so professional and giving. She didn't suffer fools. I mean, if you showed up and didn't know what you were doing, or you didn't know the lines, or you would become aware. But she was just great. Maybe not as funny off screen as she was on screen. She was a mom and a dog lover, and she loved to just be home and cooking and taking care of her boys and her dogs, and did not play the Hollywood scene. She wasn't out at all the parties and things like that. She was a really wonderful, down to earth, the funniest probably comedian you'll ever come across. I mean, maybe her and Lucy, but
Oh, yeah.
yes, yeah, and I think, I mean, I learned so much from her. There are times now when if I'm doing a comedy, I'll hear B's timing come out of me, or maybe even her delivery. She's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant actress.
God rest her soul. Miss B. Arthur. I still love her performance, and I loved her on Golden Girls. And she made a really funny appearance on Futurama. She played like an overlord, and she nailed that role. Much like how you did in Zombie Island, she absolutely nailed that role. The next question is going to go to Jacob. Jacob, your first question for Adrienne.
Oh my. Okay, so do you have any memories for your audition on The Fog and any experiences like on the set of shooting?
Jacob, I didn't have to audition for The Fog. I was dating the director.
Because you're just that awesome.
I do have memories of my audition, or my interview, I guess, with that same director for the first film we did, which was called Someone's Watching Me. John Carpenter. I've never really asked him to clarify this, but I think John saw me in Maude, and he saw something in the character I played, or the way I played the character, that he responded to, because he was very much a fan of Howard Hawks. and the Howard Hawks woman, as portrayed by Katharine Hepburn and Lauren Bacall. And I think John saw that I had sort of that ability to be funny and strong and maybe sensual at the same time. And so he hired me for Someone's Watching Me. And we eventually ended up, well, we eventually ended up getting married. But in those days, if you were doing television, I've told this 1,000 times, people are going to get bored with it, but if you were doing television, you couldn't get seen to do a movie because the prevailing thought was people aren't going to pay money to see you in a movie theater when they can see you every night, every Tuesday night for free. You know, there were only 3 networks. So it was much different than if you're doing a series now and you could be on a series for 5 years if it's on a streaming network and nobody will even know, you know. But there were 3 networks in those days. So if you were doing a network show, you were visible. John wrote The Fog, and he wrote the character of Stevie Wayne for me, and then asked me to read it and asked me to do it. And I read it and I was terribly disappointed
Oh, Lord.
because I'd never read a horror script before. I hadn't seen any horror films. I didn't, you know, I just wasn't attracted to the genre. I'd never seen Psycho or anything like that. And it was the time when Coming Home was a huge uh, hit in the theaters, and China Syndrome, and they
Ooh, so
were
good.
about something, you know, they were about something. And I'd been doing a series for 6 years that was about something. And he handed me this script, and it was, I mean, I don't know, it was a ghost story, you know. But I wanted to work, and I wanted to work with him, and the character was wonderful. I mean, I love the character that she would, you know, fight for her child and fight for her village, her town, and so I said, sure, yeah. And of course, you know, it was the beginning of an entire aspect of my career that might never have happened had I not taken The Fog. And to this day, it's one of the things that people still respond to all the time. You know, there are people who watch The Fog once a month, or I met a man who actually had The Fog. I don't know how he did this, but he fell asleep to the film every night. He had it somehow on an alarm clock radio or something. I don't know. But he used that to put himself to sleep. So I was very fortunate.
I'm one of those people who watch it every month because I love it. It's probably one of my favorite films of yours.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
You know what's I'm not sure if you know this or not, but they remade it in like 2012 or whatever. But don't see it; it's terrible. It's a horrible remake.
I haven't seen it, and
Yeah,
I
don't
must
watch
say
it.
I've never heard anybody say they loved it. But um, I'm just glad I got to do the first one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Don't completely like that one doesn't exist to me. I stick with yours, the original, because it like they turned like even though it was a ghost story, yours that's what made it good. The remake they turned it into a love story, and it just made no sense at all. It's just like what the heck, man. So nah, like
Oh,
again, don't
that's
just
too
pretend it
bad.
doesn't exist.
That's too bad. I know they had good actors, but yeah, I didn't see it, and I never will. So
Yeah, yeah.
Adrian, before we get to Chris's question, though, I gotta ask you a really quick question, though, because I ask this to all my guest stars, and some people will call this a silly question, though, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Whenever I'm not like fasting until dinner time, I am an absolute foodie, though, and I know that you worked on so many production companies and done so many projects, though. I was curious to know which production had the best catering scene, and what was your favorite meal in catering?
it's a toss-up between Drew Carey, which had an incredible layout. I am not a foodie. And and I mean, I'm one of those people that'll eat the same thing for dinner every night for 7 nights and then switch to something else. And I don't eat gluten and I don't eat red meat and I don't care about fish. And so but Drew Carey had an incredible spread every day. And then Carnival. I mean, our caterers on Carnival were just fantastic. And that was a different situation because that was a catering truck where we could go and, order. I don't, now it's been a long time. I don't really remember. But Drew, I mean, they just, if my memory serves me right, they would even have an entire roast turkey. There was food on that set. I played Oswald's mom. So I did, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 episodes, 4 or 5 episodes, I don't remember. But that does stand out in my mind.
So cool. Thank you for your answer on that one. That made me smile. As a person who loves food, that made me smile. Chris, your first question?
What was it like playing Alice Cable in Swamp Thing, and how did you approach the role?
Swamp Thing was not an easy shoot. It was it was a great script when we started out, and as soon as we started filming, the studio started cutting the budget, and so Wes had to rewrite almost every day, eliminating characters, eliminating scenes. And it was South Carolina in I think it was April or May. It was hot, it was muggy, there were chiggers, ticks, gators, snakes. The stuntman always thought it was great fun to throw a snake over my shoulders. Um, and because Wes we were working long, long hours. So it wasn't, from a physical point of view, it was not an easy shoot. How I approached the role, oh, it's been so long. uh, I suppose I approached it the way I always approach it, where for myself only, I really sort of, thought about her backstory, what had brought her there, what brought her to that point, things like that, things that would never show up on screen, but that help me find the character, just making choices like that. And I'm sure when I first read the script, I mean, it's Beauty and the Beast, so I mean, and that was actually my first love scene. Never done a love scene. Maybe I had done one. I did a TV movie called Houdini, I think, where I played Harry Houdini's mistress. It never went so far as us making love, but I was getting undressed to get in bed with him or something. But, kissing the monster was probably the first time I'd ever kissed anybody on screen. Although now that I think about it, if we go back to school, I probably was making out with with the waiter, right?
Yeah.
Now, was that monster in the swamp? Was he a good kisser?
He was a great man, Dick Durock. He was one of the most patient. They put him in that suit, and it was really cheaply made. It kept tearing, so they kept having to fix it and fix it. But once he was in that suit, he wasn't getting out of that suit for hours and hours and hours. And Dick never complained. I don't know how he ever, went to the bathroom, but it was not pleasant. He was fantastic.
And with you guys in those brutal conditions, like it was in the swamp. He got there was that fight in the he was fighting in the swamp with all the he must have been
Right?
it must have been horrible being wet. Plus, I'm sure he got claustrophobic being on all the makeup and everything at times. But just it
And
wasn't easy.
the swamp was polluted. Before we ever went in, they took cotton balls and soaked them in antiseptic and stuffed those in our ears. And as soon as we got out, they just rubbed us down with, antiseptic. And I mean, because it wasn't like when we did the series of Swamp Thing, where they had built the most incredible set and the most incredible swamp in Wilmington, which is where we shot the first season. No, the original movie was, I think it was Cypress Gardens, I think it was called, or Magnolia Gardens, one, or maybe both, in outside of Charleston.
Well,
It was dirty.
Wow.
so
I was
yeah,
rather
you guys were
surprised to find
actually
out
like
that.
it was probably some like it was. You can tell by some of the shots it's very hot and muggy. You can tell it wasn't easy to do out there,
Yeah.
and especially being that costume, not easy at all. So
No, no. And Dick he was a champ. What
Well,
else?
and bless him for it.
Uh,
Well, I was rather surprised to find out that Swamp Thing is actually part of the DC universe, and that's not the only DC work you'd be viewing.
Uh,
Hmm?
is Batman a DC comic?
Apparently, it was. The Swamp Thing
Oh,
has been indeed included in various iterations of the DC universe now.
I didn't know that.
all right.
I learned
Well,
something. And Adrian, I wanted to also ask you another project that you have done though, and that is Escape from New York though. And I was curious to know, like, do you have any behind the scenes or anecdotes you could share during your time on set shooting Escape from New York?
my favorite story about shooting Escape from New York is that we filmed it in St. Louis, and downtown St. Louis was, well, it looked like what you see on the screen. It was pretty bad. That the bridge actually had been condemned and was not being used. But we got to our hotel in downtown St. Louis. I think it was near, this is so many years ago. I want to say it was near the Gaslight neighborhood, if that was the name of it. I mean, I had a great time in St. Louis because I was out antiquing and shopping and doing everything. But we checked into our hotel, and the fellow who checked us in said, it's not a safe area of town. Take a cab wherever you're going. Don't walk around here. And so that night, Donald Pleasance hired a cab who came to the front of the hotel to take him to a Chinese restaurant. And the cab drove around the hotel to the back of the hotel and dropped him off where the Chinese restaurant was. and, and we teased him about that. More than that, I don't remember anything. I had a good time working with the guys. Again, it was hard for them because they were working nights. I didn't have as much to do. And some of my stuff was at USC here in LA at the law library at USC. But there's those scenes where the men are dropping from the helicopter. It was so hot. I only know this, I wasn't on the set at the time, but I know this from having, heard from John and read other interviews that the tar on the tarmac where they were dropping down was soft, and I think several people dropped down and broke their ankles, and it was really hot. They were working long hours, and it wasn't fun.
Wow, I'm sorry
But
to hear that.
that's what we do.
it's it's part of yeah. How was working with Kurt Russell? Was he cool?
Oh, Kurt was wonderful. I knew Kurt because John had directed him in Escape from New York. I mean, in Elvis, the 4-hour
Yeah.
series, and his well, she played Priscilla, Season Hubley, and Kurt and Season were married at the time. Season is the chock full of nuts girl in Escape from New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I knew both Kurt and Season, and we used to socialize together before we did Escape, and he's great. He's just great.
Fun
That's
fact I
so
got to
cool.
throw out there, I found out actually about a year ago that Elvis was distantly related to me, and I thought that was really cool. So I like to throw that out.
Cool.
Wow.
Cool, Jacob.
Okay.
Uh,
Do you sing?
Not very well. There's a great bit of musicianship in my mom's family. I play guitar and piano and can somewhat sing, but I will be the first to admit I am more of an entertainer than I am a musician.
Okay, well.
Adrian, we have another question that we want to ask though too. Especially, I'm a huge fan of this work, and Ian is also a big fan of this other project you've done. So I'm going to pass the question on to Ian because there's another question he had. Go ahead, Ian.
Well, Adrienne, I grew up in the 90s, and my grandpa and I were huge fans of the Match Game, and you were a contestant on that. I heard those were some shows. I think they film maybe 2 shows a day. And Brett Summer said the second one was kind of interesting because they were a little tipsy.
Well, in the 80s and I guess the 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, um, game shows were what reality shows are now for the audiences. And so I did a lot of them. I was the first, I did the pilot of the Gong Show.
No way.
I was
Cool.
mostly known, I wasn't so much known for Match Game, which I don't remember quite as well. And she may have been tipsy. I don't drink, so I may not have been aware of what was going on there. But I was one of the all-time top money winners for $20,000 pyramid and $100,000 pyramid, and I love doing pyramid. Tattletales is another one I remember because Sammy Davis Jr. cheated. I remember that. And Match Game was Bert Convey, wasn't it? Was he the host? Who was the host for Match
I
Game?
think I think that was Gong Show, Bert.
Wait. No, that's
No, Chuck Barris was
no.
Gong
Was it
Chuck-
Show.
not? No,
Oh
Chuck
yeah, sorry, I'm mixing it
was
up.
it Chuck Woolery or was that Love Connection?
Rayburn was the Match Game host.
Okay.
Yeah, when I
Gene
think
Rayburn.
Match Game,
Okay.
all I can think of is Charles Nelson Riley.
Better than my guess. I was thinking who did I say? I was thinking of what's the name of the well, I was thinking of Chuck Woolery.
Peter Marshall. Peter Marshall was Hollywood Squares, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Richard-
And I did that a couple of times too. But Match Game, gosh, I don't remember.
Who's got Google open?
But yes, we did do 5 in a day, even with Pyramid. They filmed Pyramid in New York, and it was always a joy because I love the producers. And so, get to fly to New York, and in those days we stayed at the Warwick Hotel, and Dick Clark was the host for the Pyramids, and we'd take 5 changes of clothes and shoot all 5 shows in one day and then come
Whoa.
back to play.
Wow.
Very cool.
Cool. And
And
another
I have I mean, if you really want little trivia questions, I'm doing $100,000 pyramid, and Dick introduces the contestant I'm playing with, the young woman, and he says she's from Saratoga, California. And we went to commercial, and I said, "Oh, my sister lives in Saratoga. Where do you live?" And she told me what street she lived on. "Oh, my sister lives on that street." And they lived about 4 houses away from each other. And we ended up winning $100,000. And she used that money to hire my brother-in-law, who was a contractor, to remodel her house.
That's cool.
And she and her husband have remained close friends with my sister and brother-in-law ever since then. So
That's so cool.
Nice.
isn't that fun?
Absolutely. We have a couple more questions before we wrap up, Adrienne. One of the questions I definitely have to ask for you because you're not only a legendary name in the acting industry though, but when I see you like do interviews though, like you are a person of lots of many words of wisdom and inspiration. And with that being said though, is there any words of advice that you would give to the viewers watching at home right now?
Vote. Did you hear me, Petey?
I did. I heard you. One
And
word.
especially if you're in California, vote yes on 50. What advice would I give to the viewers? Oh, you know, I raised my boys and I tried to live by what I think is still called the golden rule. Treat other people the way you would like to be treated. And I think that would solve an awful lot of problems. Well, I guess it depends on who's doing the treating, but um, these are hard times. They're really hard times. And uh, listen to music and,
That's a good one.
and take some joy from that, I think. And I'm not gonna go any farther with that.
Okay. That's fine. Whatever you feel comfortable with, Adrienne. We're gonna go on to the co-host's final questions and or comments. So we're gonna start with the top section. So Dan, your final comment and or question for the legendary Adrienne Barbeau.
Adrienne, just I'm so glad you came here, and hopefully one of these days I'd love to meet you at a convention. If
Same.
you're ever in Chicago, let me know because I would love to meet you. And one of my one last I guess question and final comment. I'll do my question first, then come. Anyway, what out of everything you've done, like genre and both, like what do you prefer, stage or screen, like television, film?
You
Love
know,
everything.
Dan, it really, for me, it really comes down to the character first. The character first, the project second. I mean, by that I mean all the words on the page. And then the medium. At this time in my life, because I'm an early riser, 5:30, 6, I'm happier getting up early and going and sitting on a set. Um, and then, coming home and being able to read or watch a little TV before I go to bed. That being said, the last stage role I did was the grandma in Pippin's grandmother, which is a role that required me to hang upside down from a trapeze 15 feet in the air and sing the second act song. And, at my age, the opportunity to be able to do something like that could not be passed up. So I did a year traveling with the National Company of Pippin and had a great time, but I'd rather be sitting at home at night and working during the day. But again, it depends on the role. It just depends on the role. A great
Yeah.
role on stage is going to call my name, and I think if it were a toss up, if I had to choose a great role on film, um, probably my least favorite are sitcoms because I don't find them very funny anymore.
It's
You know,
it's like you didn't mod in front of a live studio audience, right? Or was
yes,
that
yes,
okay?
which was
Yeah,
like
that
doing a stage play. Yeah,
yeah.
we
Because
rehearsed
nowadays it's just
beforehand.
all the fake. Nowadays they got the canned fake laughter that they put in after, and the
Right.
after jokes aren't even funny. I prefer. I'm old school like that. When I watch like the last show I watched is All in the Family, and that was all live studio audience too, and that's what I love
Yes,
about. But like
yes,
it was real reactions, real laughter, and not fake.
yes. And
So.
it gave us, as the actors and the writers, it gave us the opportunity to fix something that wasn't funny because we would rehearse for 4.5 days. And then on the last day, well, the end of the fourth day, we do a camera blocking. But then on the last day, we would do straight through, just like a play, just like a comedy on stage. We'd do, we'd do the show. And if there were jokes that didn't land, or if we were too long, or if the audience didn't respond to something, then the writers went into the writing room, and while we were all having dinner, they rewrote, and then we all had to memorize the new stuff, and we got an opportunity to do it again the second time and make it even funnier or better.
See, I miss that. I miss that. And nowadays they don't do that. But I barely watch much TV. But as I do, if I do, it's either Maude, All in the Family. It's the old shows because nothing. I hate to say it, nothing really new is good nowadays. I mean, there's good. Like I said, even the films, like it was refreshing to see oddities because that's a different type of horror film, you know.
Mhm.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
all for original new stuff. So,
I think the
I guess it
last,
also depends on what you've grown up with too, because when you think about it, there was like, I guess, a lot of people who would have enjoyed much of what they grew up with back in the day. You have Happy Days, you had the Munsters, you had the Addams Family, and I suppose if you would actually have grown up with like Fresh Prince of Bel Air, you probably find that funny. If you grew up with Two and a Half Men, maybe you might find that funny.
Mhm.
Emphasis on
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Big Bang Theory, I mean, got to be award winning. A lot of people enjoyed it. I don't know why. I don't really know how people even see Chuck Lorre's genius at all. Is what it is, I suppose. But it just comes back to like how it's subjective and different strokes for different folks. Pardon the expression.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Then you had a final comment too,
Well,
or
just again, Adrienne, hopefully I meet you at a con one of these days because just again, I've been a long time fan of yours. I've been like, that's the funny. I practically grew up with you without even knowing it at some point. So it's just, um, again, cool to finally meet an icon as you and just, I love all your work. Again, like, again, you've been part of so many big things. And just, again, thank you for taking the time to be here with Pete and me and just doing this. So thank you so much, Adrienne.
Thank you very much, all of you.
uh,
It was
Chris-
lovely.
awesome, man. I'm gonna get to mine in a second though. Chris, your final comment and or question for the legendary Adrienne Barbeau.
Well, Adriana, it's definitely a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show. Sorry we couldn't have you with your camera on. But I'm also kind of admit that we didn't really get to like any possible questions regarding to your time on working Batman the Animated Series at all,
Oh,
because that was really something that I grew up with, and I thought it was like a real crime that they had Kevin Conroy come back as Batman in the Batman Arkham games, but they didn't have you.
you know, I did Batman Arkham Asylum, but it wasn't Catwoman. It was the first video game I ever recorded, so I never paid any attention at the time. I didn't even know I was, but I think I played a German nurse or doctor, or I was the voice that came over the loudspeaker. And then there was something with it's Batman Arkham Asylum. I know that much. I don't even remember the name of the characters. I think I did two characters, but no, I haven't done any. We did go on and do something called Gotham Girls, which was a webisode. Diane Pershing and I think Tara. I don't, we didn't all work. I don't even remember how we recorded it. But no, they haven't called me back for any of the other Catwomans. Well,
They should.
what can you do?
They should. They should call you back. Um, Chris, did you have a final question, comment, or you were good with that?
Um, I mean, I'm good with that, I guess.
Okay.
But I guess I'll also comment that when we have just like, I suppose, this overall idea of how the character is supposed to be, or at least how they want the character to sound in this case of the video games, it's sort of like within the realm of like a typecast, uh, whereas you might actually have like uh, the overall, I don't know, I guess sexism might come into play here too, because you had Kevin Conroy who would come back for his role. You had Mark Hamill who would come back for his role. But they had like someone who was pretty much a dead ringer for your voice when you did the Catwoman voice initially. Gray DeGrease, I think, was her name or something.
Lyle, maybe.
Delisle. I think it's pronounced Delisle.
Delau? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Gray Delau. She did the voice of Catwoman in Arkham Knight and Arkham City. And yeah, it was just like they were ultimately emulating the role you played. And it was kind of just a case of how could they just not just bring you back? And because you did the voice, could you not do it again?
You know, I really don't know, Chris. I didn't even know those two games existed. I mean, I'm not a gamer. I can tell you though that I was very proud to be the overseer in Fallout 76.
I love
But
that game. I love
I
that game, Adrienne.
That was you. Huh.
I didn't, yeah, that was me. I'm the overseer in Fallout 76. I'm in God of War and God of War 3, and I'm in
Oh.
Halo 4
Nice.
and
Sweet.
and others, but I didn't even know about the Batman things. And uh, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea who was producing or if they. I know nobody ever called me and asked me, so whatever.
I mean, I blame Rocksteady Games, and they left the last game open for a sequel and we never got it. And it's also that, yeah, they didn't even give you a call to just let you know that, hey, we're bringing back this character, or Kevin and Mark are on board, and we want to know if you're on board. And they could have at least given that courtesy. Like, what the hell?
Well, hopefully they'll see this and if they're doing another one, they'll say, hey, let's call her and ask her.
Ian, your final comment and or question for the legendary Adrienne Barbeau.
Well, Adrienne, thank you so much for joining us. I was curious about your memories of playing Marcy in the 1981 ensemble comedy, The Cannonball Run.
One of my favorites.
Oh. Now, guys, I wrote in 2006, I released a memoir called There Are Worse Things I Could Do after the song that I sang in Greece. I was the original Rizzo. And so there's a lot of stories in that memoir that would answer some of your questions. My experience with Cannonball was not as great as everybody else's.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I mean, I had a great time I was starstruck when it came to working with Roger Moore. And at one point, we were in the desert and his air conditioning went out. And he asked if he could come sit in my trailer. And I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to talk to Roger Moore about? And I knew Sammy and I knew I had dated Bert, which is in the book. And I knew Dino a little bit. He was great. He was great fun. I mean, you never knew. Dino was never going to give you your cue. He just sort of made it up as he went along, but he was so delightful that it was fun. But we had a couple of tragic accidents on the film, and I think the audience enjoyed it a lot more than I did.
I'm sorry to hear that, Adrienne.
But yeah, read the book.
Okay. Well, before we get to Jacob's final question and or comment, though, I just want to say, from the guys from Chris, Ian, and Jacob, though, for guys that have facial hair, I would just say one thing, though. If I had to choose it was hard time between who had the best mustache between Burt Reynolds and Tom Selleck. I don't know who to choose because they both have excellent mustaches.
Tom Selleck.
They're just so iconic.
I don't know. I'm from Georgia. I got to go with the Bandit.
You got to go with the Bandit.
Bo Darville.
Jacob, buddy, your final comment and or question.
I'll start with my comment. I just want to say this has been an honor because I've been trying to not fanboy out this whole time. Maybe it's good. I'm getting over getting sick, so I'm not as energetic. But I've just always been a starstruck person. So to actually have some time with someone of your caliber has just been great, and I have really enjoyed this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dick.
And you, as you said earlier, you started working in horror with The Fog, and you worked in more horror since then. What do you think is appealing about that, and how did you enjoy it?
Well, I think what's appealing about it is it gives an actor an opportunity to, you know, go all kinds of places with their emotions. Um, uh, it is not appealing to me as an audience member. I don't like to be scared and I don't like to see blood and guts and gore and all of that. But I guess the other thing that is appealing for the audience is that it's a sensory reaction to what you're seeing on the screen. And there are some people who love to be scared and love to jump. And John Carpenter tells the story of the first time he saw, I think it was The Man Who Fell to Earth. I can't remember. It was his first horror film. He was 8 years old, if I remember the story. And he was watching and he jumped up and he started to race out of the theater. He was so scared. And he got about halfway up the aisle and stopped and realized this was such fun, and that was the beginning for him. I may be paraphrasing, John. If you're watching this, forgive me, but I know that it just had it has a visceral effect on people, and some people like that. My son's girlfriend has never seen a horror film in her life and hopes never to because she doesn't like to see that stuff. But from an acting point of view, I mean, yeah, you get to, you really get to show your chops, I guess.
Oh.
Really quick, you just got me thinking. You worked with one of my favorite directors, George Romero, and he did with Creepshow. And what's funny is, I couldn't watch Night of the Living Dead till I was like, I didn't see it fully till I was 16, but it was because of that same thing. I was afraid of just that. Like I direct and make my own creature things now, but it was the same type of thing. I didn't like it at first until I got to be in the craft and understand it. But basically agreeing with you with that. Like some people are scared, but now I see the art and craft of it, and it's different now. It doesn't scare me. And what's going off what you're saying too, sometimes I notice a lot of horror tackles a lot of deep topics, just people don't really discuss it.
Yes. Yeah. I did a short film in, geez, I don't know when, 2002? I don't know. Called Alice Jacobs is Dead. It was my one and only zombie movie. But for me, it was a treatise on Alzheimer's because Alice's husband is a doctor. San Francisco has come through the virus, but a lot of people are dead, and I think they've gotten rid of most of the zombies. And Alice's husband is working on a vaccine that will save anyone from the virus, but his wife has been infected. He is keeping her hidden away in the hopes that he can develop this vaccine fast enough to save her. She knows that she is in the process of turning. She knows that she's losing herself, and she begs him to kill her. I won't tell you the rest, but for me, it was, early stages Alzheimer's, where someone knows that things aren't right, that it's going to be really bad when they move into dementia, and they don't want to experience that. So, I mean, that's sort of heavy, but for me, that was a horror film that was about something else.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think if what did I just Oh, it's a lot. It slipped my mind, but there was another one that. Oh, I know what it is. And this is, you need to go see this and see it in a theater. George Romero's daughter, Tina Romero, has just released her first feature called Queens of the Dead.
Oh yeah, I saw the trailer for it. I gotta check it out.
It is about friendship. It is, I mean, it's zombies and drag queens, but it's about friendship and relationships and social media and
Big one.
love between people. And it's great. And it's really worth seeing. So go see it while it's still in the theaters. I think they had a limited release, and then it'll probably be on Shudder.
Okay,
And she has followed in her father's footsteps with perfection. It's very funny, and it's just but it is a horror film that really explores relationships.
hmm.
So,
I'll check it out. And then what was the name of the one you were in before? The two
oh,
because I want to check that out.
Alice Jacobs is dead. And I don't know if it's still on Shudder. You could probably find it on YouTube. Um, directed by Alex Horwitz, and I'm very proud of it. It won a lot of awards. In fact, I think it won me the Best Actress Award in Chicago back
Cool.
whenever year that was, a long time ago. Yeah.
Very cool. And before I get to my final question though, Adrienne, I just want to ask too, like we would love to have you back on in the future. Like, do you have interest for a potential part two in the future?
Sure. Let's see what happens with oddities, and I'll come back and we can talk about that.
Awesome. And
I would
Okay.
love
Also
that.
happen
That'd
to
be so
talk about
great.
your other work. Also happen to talk about Grease too, because yeah,
Oh,
my girlfriend's a huge Grease fan, uh, and she'd probably love to like slip in any questions she might have for you.
okay. I've got a Christmas present you can buy for her.
uh,
In 1990, oh no, what are we in? In 2022, I co-wrote and co-edited a book called Grease, Tell Me More, Tell Me More. And it's a collection of stories from all the actors who did the Broadway show, the National Company, the bus and truck companies, the theater actor, the stage actors, not the movie actors, although Travolta was in it because he was on stage with us, and Jeff Conaway and some other people you will know. It's a collection of their stories about auditioning, getting the role, backstage romances, the you know what happened on stage, you know, when they drove the truck, the car Grease Lightning into the orchestra pit in Las Vegas. Uh, and it's people have really enjoyed it. And if she really is into Greece, she might get a kick out of reading those stories.
very cool.
Okay.
The final
I'll be sure to
question,
look it up.
the
Thanks,
final
Chris.
the final question I have for you, Adrienne, is what's next for Adrienne Barbeau? Now, this is the part of the show, Adrienne, it's like open mic night. You can talk about anything you like. I am passing you the proverbial microphone. The floor is yours, Adrienne.
Well, I've just finished co-writing, adapting a novel, a Nevada Bar novel called What Rose Forgot, which now we are attempting to get financing for, about elder care abuse. It's a thriller. Um, and well, I haven't signed the contract yet, but I just got an offer to do another horror film uh, late in December. And
Congrats.
I've got my books, which I don't usually talk about, but I have a series of three vampire novels. And actually, I am adapting the second one, Love Bites, uh, for a screenplay to try and get that sold either as a series or a screenplay. But you know, that and 10 cents. So what do they say? That won't get you on the subway anymore. But you know, we'll see. Those are the things that are. Oh, right now on Apple TV and Amazon Prime, I just did a cameo, but it's a good film. It's an exorcism film as opposed to a slasher. It's a horror film called The Demon Detective. And that just dropped a couple weeks ago. So you can see that. And in my off time, my day job, I narrate television series and films for the blind. So that if you're watching TV and you put your TV on the SAP channel, you'll hear my voice or someone else's voice describing what's going on screen in between the dialogue.
Oh, very cool.
He blinks his eyes and turns to it, turns to her, or I did SWAT and I did SEAL Team and I did 1,000 series and movies and a lot of the Blumhouse movies and I enjoy it because I see things. I did a lot of Nova for PBS, so I learn and I see things that I'd never watch on my own. But it's sort of like, I mean, I'm getting paid. It's a SAG job, but it's sort of, it feels good to give back in a way.
Nothing more rewarding
That's
than
so
giving
cool.
back, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I just have my final comment I want to say, Adrienne. Let me just say this too. Like, I've had co-hosts in the past tell me I sound like a broken record when I say this too, and I gladly say, no,
Don't
man,
get
that's not
charged.
broke. Nope. I know. I didn't say it. You did, Chris. But as Chris was saying though, he says I can sound like a broken record when I say this though, and I say gladly, Chris. It's not a broken record. It's a catchphrase. And what I'm about to tell you, Adrienne, is all heart and truth, and that is you have this incredible gift, Adrienne, where you can take a 35-year-old fan like this dude right here and bring him way down here and make him feel like that 9-year-old watching Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island who, quite honestly, was scared the piss out of you as Simone because I thought that scene that where you transformed into the zombified cat person was the equivalent to the American Werewolf in London scene.
Oh my God. Well, thank you very much. Thank
Thank you.
you.
And I'm gonna send you a copy of this interview literally in 2 hours because I everyone knows Chris, Ian, Jacob, Dan. You guys know how fast I get these interviews up right away.
Okay, great.
And
Thank you.
one last thing before you go, Adrienne. And I waited since I was 9 years old to do this, and I feel like you deserve this, and that is thank you, Adrienne. Thank you,
Thank you,
Adrienne.
Adrienne.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Adrienne.
Adrienne.
Such a pleasure and honor talking to you, Adrienne. It made me feel like that kid growing up watching your work. It was such a true honor and pleasure, and I can't wait for the future. And you'll always have my support on your projects.
Thank you very much, Petey.
Uh,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, all you guys, Chris and Daniel and Jacob and Ian. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
wonderful night,
you.
everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.